Tonight, we are bringing you a developing story out of Italy, where torrential rain, violent thunderstorms, and sudden landslides have turned parts of the north and center of the country into a disaster zone within just a matter of hours. If you are watching this right now, understand that this situation is still unfolding as we speak, and the next 24 to 48 hours could get even worse before they get better. So stay with us, because we are going to break down exactly why this is happening, what is happening on the ground right now, how many people have already been evacuated, how much damage has been done, and where this storm system is headed next. Let's start with the big picture. For weeks, Italy had been trapped under a brutal and prolonged heat wave, with scorching temperatures baking the soil and drying out the ground across the country. But when extreme heat suddenly collapses and gives way to a fast-moving low-pressure system, the atmosphere does not calm down gently. Instead, it often reacts violently. And that is exactly what has happened here. A powerful and unstable weather system has moved in, colliding with all that trapped heat and moisture. And the result has been explosive thunderstorm activity, extreme lightning, hail, and walls of rain falling faster than the ground can absorb them. When soil has been baked hard for weeks and then suddenly hit with intense rainfall, it cannot soak up the water. Instead, that water runs straight off the surface, funnels into valleys and streams, and turns into flash floods and landslides within minutes. This is the exact mechanism playing out across Italy right now, and it is why authorities were caught having to respond to multiple emergencies at the same time in multiple regions, almost simultaneously. As of Friday, Italy's Civil Protection Department has issued an orange alert, the second highest level of warning, for 4 regions. Those are Friuli, Venezia Giulia in the northeast, Liguria along the coast, Lombardy in the north, and Tuscany in central Italy. On top of that, a yellow alert, meaning a lower but still serious level of risk, has been declared across a staggering 13 regions of the country. That means well over a third of Italy is currently under some form of official weather warning. Meteorologists are describing this as a multi-region severe weather event, not an isolated storm, and that scale is a big part of why this story matters right now. Let's go region by region, because the situation is different and in some places genuinely dangerous depending on where you look. We start in Lombardy, which right now is the epicenter of this crisis. Fire and rescue crews in the region have carried out more than 430 separate emergency response operations in just the last day. The Oglio River, which flows through the Brescia area, has burst its banks and overflowed. In the town of Isola di Fondra, in Bergamo province, a busy campsite packed with tourists had to be evacuated entirely, with around 250 people pulled out and moved to safety as flash floods swept through the valley. But the most serious incident so far happened in Val Camonica, in the towns of Sonico and Milano, both in Brescia province. A landslide came down without warning and completely destroyed a bridge crossing the Val Rabbia stream. Thankfully, no one was hurt in that collapse, but 81 residents living nearby were evacuated as a precaution because authorities could not guarantee the ground around them was stable. Moving west to Liguria, the numbers here are almost hard to believe. In the town of Levanto, 15 millimeters of rain fell in just 5 minutes. Think about that for a second. That is not an hour. That is 5 minutes. In Montaggio, 65.6 millimeters of rain fell in a single hour. And since midnight alone, the region recorded 25,000 individual lightning strikes, and that is actually a drop from the previous day, when the region was hit by an astonishing 132,500 lightning strikes in 24 hours. One of those strikes hit the 19th century church of San Pietro in Riva Trigoso near Genoa. The bolt punched straight through the roof, damaged the bell tower, and even stopped the church clock dead, frozen at the exact moment the lightning struck. Emergency crews in Liguria have logged more than 160 separate response calls, mainly across Genoa and La Spezia provinces, and a key coastal route, the Aurelia motorway near Savona, had to be temporarily shut down over fears about the stability of a bridge crossing the Quiliano stream. In Tuscany, the story has been less about flooding and more about raw electrical violence in the sky. The region was hit by roughly 23,000 lightning strikes, and the storms knocked out power to around 6,000 households, more than 2,000 of them in Pistoia province alone. Crews worked through the entire night trying to restore electricity to residents. Fire departments carried out more than 200 separate operations across Florence, Pistoia, Lucca, and Pisa, dealing mostly with fallen trees, flooding, and storm damage to buildings. Up in the mountains of Trentino, a violent storm triggered a debris flow in Val Genova, a scenic alpine valley. Mud, rock, and debris came pouring down from the Rio Gabbiolo, crossing the road about 2 kilometers downstream from the Malga Badole mountain hut. In places, that debris flow reached a height of nearly 2 meters. Fortunately, local authorities had already closed that stretch of road as a precaution before the storm hit, which meant no vehicles or people were caught in its path. Teams from the Mountain Basin Service, along with volunteer firefighters and staff from the Adamello Brenta National Park, are on site working to clear the area. And finally, in Piedmont, in the northwest, fire crews have responded to more than 260 incidents, concentrated mainly in Turin, Novara, and Vercelli provinces, dealing largely with flooded streets and storm damage to building roofs. Now, here is the number that really tells you how widespread this event has become. Across the country, fire and emergency services have now carried out close to 1,000 separate rescue and response operations in total, dealing with landslides, flooding, and structural damage. That is an enormous strain on emergency resources, and it shows just how many communities have been hit at once. So let's talk about the human cost, because this is the part everyone wants to know. As of right now, there are no confirmed deaths and no confirmed injuries linked to this event. Multiple regional authorities in Lombardy, in Liguria, in Trentino, in Tuscany, and in Piedmont have all explicitly confirmed that no one has been hurt so far. That is genuinely good news, and it is largely thanks to fast evacuations and roads being closed before disaster struck rather than after. But do not mistake the lack of casualties for a lack of danger. Roughly 400 people have already been forced out of their homes or campsites in Lombardy alone, and emergency crews are still on the ground right now in the dark, working through the night. In terms of physical damage, we are talking about a destroyed bridge in Val Camonica, a lightning-damaged historic church in Liguria, a major coastal motorway temporarily shut down, widespread power outages affecting thousands of households in Tuscany, and building roof damage across Piedmont. Officials have not yet released a formal financial damage estimate, and typically in Italy, that number only comes once the emergency phase has fully passed and regional governments can send in assessment teams. But given the scale of operations already underway, that final number, when it comes, is likely to be significant. Now, here is the part that should really grab your attention, because this story is not over. This is not a storm that hit and moved on. Italy's Civil Protection Department has already issued a fresh alert for Saturday, and this time the yellow warning zone is shifting. It now stretches beyond the north and into central and southern Italy, covering parts of Lombardy again, along with Molise, Campania, Puglia, and Basilicata. In other words, this weather system is drifting south, and regions that have not yet been tested by this event could be next in line. And remember what we talked about earlier, ground that has been baked by weeks of heat does not become safer after one round of heavy rain. It often becomes more dangerous because the soil is now saturated and destabilized, which makes it even more vulnerable to landslides the next time heavy rain hits. So if you have family, friends, or plans to travel anywhere in northern, central, or southern Italy in the coming days, this is the moment to pay close attention because official alerts are shifting fast and the situation on the ground can change within hours. We are going to keep monitoring this story closely, and if new evacuation orders come in, if the alert zones expand further, or if there is any change in casualties, we will bring you an updated report the moment that information is confirmed. This is exactly the kind of fast-moving disaster story where being a few hours behind the news can matter, so make sure you do not miss the next update. Before you go, I want to hear from you. If you have family or friends in Italy right now, or if you are actually there yourself watching this, drop a comment below and let us know what conditions look like where you are. Your comments genuinely help other viewers understand what is really happening on the ground beyond what any official report can tell us. And if this video kept you informed, do me a favor, hit that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds and it helps push this story out to more people who need to see it. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because we cover breaking weather and disaster stories like this one as they happen, and you do not want to miss the next update on this developing situation in Italy. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and we will see you in the next one.